Scaling a practice can feel overwhelming. Just how to market, how to make things work, no matter what your specialty is. So this week, Dr. Rachel Rubin has been there, and in this episode, she's going to share exactly the mindset and all the strategies that helped her grow a successful bi-coastal practice. All right, welcome back to another week of the NatrevMD Podcast. Today on the show, we have Dr. Rachel Rubin. So not only is she just awesome from a friend perspective, I've known her, we've been in the same business world for some time. She's a urologist, a sexual medicine specialist, and she's actually just one of the few people I've known who've been able to build not only this amazing practice, but this personal brand, and then be able to have this mission that is so focused on helping patient care. You know, she's fellowship trained in sexual medicine, and she has a lot of unique things to bring to the world. So I'm excited to have you on. Welcome.
What an honor. What an introduction. And I'm just so excited you exist and you're filling this niche, and what you do is so important. And yet so many people wouldn't think about, but you're the lifeblood of of how people run their businesses.
Thank you. It's been fun. Our mission with this podcast is that we bring successful docs on. We talk about how it is to be successful in private practice, because it's not easy. And if we can do that in a way that inspires other people to stay independent, should they choose to do so, that's really our goal, is to teach and to inspire.
And I think the best thing I've learned about business is there are people that can and want to help you. And that if you build a team, and you don't have to know how to do everything, but having consultants and people who just know how to do it, it's incredible. And people are so kind at helping you along the way.
Totally. Finding somebody to be a mentor, to say, okay, this is the problem I'm having, who's solved it already, is absolutely critical. So I want to back up. I want to talk about just your journey as from a physician standpoint. Let's talk about you as a physician, and then your practice.
I would say it's taken me a while to find the room where I belong. And now that I have found it, I feel like I'm just so happy to be here. I'm a urologist. It's a very male dominated specialty that focuses a lot on prostate cancer and bladder issues and kidney stones. And I ended up I was interested in women's health. I was interested in sexual health. Everyone dreams of being a penis doctor. You don't really know how you get to where you are. And then all of a sudden you're like, how did I get here? What happened? I didn't love the OBGYN. I didn't like delivering babies and med school. It just, I vasovagaled. Y'all are amazing what you do, but I vasovagaled at 3 a.m. when women were screaming. And I loved the operating room. I loved the personality of urologists. We have to be funny, right? It's kind of a requirement. We can say whatever bad word we want at whatever time we want to. It fit with kind of what I wanted to do. And so I found urology, and then I found the sexual medicine world from there. I did a fellowship in sexual medicine. Again, the fellowship I did is the only one that focuses on male and female sexual dysfunction in the entire country. I mean, the reality is we have 27 fellowships that will do male sexual medicine, and there's really nothing for women. And so we're trying to change that. I got loud on social media, sort of the Twitter, when it was still a great place, probably 8 years ago, and just sort of continued to uplift other people, support other people, and talk about research and sort of interesting things in sexual medicine. And it just sort of snowballed 8 years later, right? As you can attest to, you become an overnight success, and you look back and you've, put in the reps and the work for 10 years. About 4 years, when I came out of my fellowship in 2017, I joined a practice. It was actually a cash-based practice, and I was employed, mostly because no one would hire me. I was told what I did was weird. I was told I wouldn't make enough money for them fast enough. In fact, I had a contract from a large urology practice, private equity owned group. And they called me and said, oh no, we talked to the private equity bros and we're taking your contract away because you won't make enough money for us fast enough. And so I ended up joining a cash practice, which is a crazy thing to do right out of fellowship. And yet I hustled. I had no resources. I had no patients there on day one. And I just met everyone I could. I networked like crazy. I went up to all the physical therapists and sex therapists and said, hey, I'm Rachel Rubin. Here's my cell phone number. Here's who I am. Here's what I do. I want to help you. You're my partners. And I was busy I was always busy. And so it took a long time, a little bit to build. And then again, with the social media, I think it just really ignited things. So we got attention from the New York Times. We got attention from like bigger things. And then it really started to snowball. And so it has been, so about 4 years ago, I started my own practice, which now has grown. We have, not crazy. I never wanted to grow super big, but my co-fellow is Ashley Winter, who's an amazing, amazing urologist in Los Angeles. And so she and my other partner, Dr. Kat Kloss, are our LA practice. And then there's two of us in the DC practice. So I accidentally became a bi-coastal practice. But we do cash pay, comprehensive, in-depth sexual medicine care. And that's a lot of menopause, a lot of pelvic pain. I spend, my model is, spend a lot of time with people and connect with them deeply in a way that you can figure out what do they need, what do they care about, what do they want. If you don't know what your patients want, or if you can't meet them where they are and give them what they need, it's not going to be a win. And so I feel like I kind of built a practice of what I would want from my doctors and haven't really seen so much is the time and the connection. I'm a connector. I want to connect deeply with people. I mean, that was a long-winded answer, but I'm having a lot of fun.
I love it. Well, and it's funny. It's funny how there are certain personalities that when you tell them you can't do this, I feel like it lights a fire to say, watch me. And I sense that with you.
That's a big one. I therapied a lot on that one, actually. When my revenge tour, I do feel that my revenge tour kind of ended a couple years ago. And I said, who am I without my revenge, without my deep-seated anger? It's still fun. It's still fun. But yes, telling, it's funny because the head of that private equity sort of thing has been a couple of my talks in the audience, and sort of like, it's really fun to sort of do those mic drop moments of like, you see what you had here? Like, watch me go.
You wouldn't have been happy. You wouldn't have been happy.
No, it was a win. It was truly a blessing. It was truly a blessing. They know it. I know it. We're all friends. We laugh about it, but I always talk about this, and I think this is something that for your listeners, you could say I'm a visionary, a revolutionary. I've done so many amazing things. Every decision I've made is because of bad things that have happened to me that I have been forced to make the decision. I didn't leave because I didn't do the start in a cash practice because I wanted to. No one would hire me. And so I had to do it. I started my practice for many reasons, but it wasn't from this visionary place. And so sometimes, and actually I have learned that when bad things happen, and I think the best entrepreneurial thing I've learned is that bad things are always going to happen. There's always going to be challenges. Like that's the game.
It's what you do with them.
Once you realize that is like, oh, this bad thing is happening. What exciting thing is going to come? Who am I going to meet? Who's going to help me? How are we going to get out of this? How are we going to make even bigger decisions from this? And so it's almost like an excitement of when the bad things happen. It's how you frame it and what you do with it.
Well, and going back to your story, right? I mean, so those beginning years, like what would you say was the number one thing to help you grow? Like a lot of our listeners, we have ranges of practices, right? We have some that listen that are cash-based, some that listen that are obviously insurance-based, as you know my world's RCM. But I think the problems in terms of growth are all very similar, right? You still have to find the patient. I mean, Dr. Una, our the person who connected the two of us, she always says, she hung a shingle and she thought they would come and they didn't come. And so what would you say was that like, 1, 2, or 3 things that as you were growing your practice, was it social media? Was it getting out there and like claiming that you were an expert? Like, what was it?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think the network is everything. The people, the network, because the more people know, like, and trust you, and you have a network, and really networking with the people who are in your world but don't do what you do. So if you're a pediatrician, you are best friends with every OBGYN in town. They have your cell phone number. They are your best friends. You go to movies together. You love each other. If you're and I could come up with an answer for whatever you are. If you're a you need to be around the people who have your ideal clients, the people who you can really help, that can afford to pay you, that you can solve their problems. And you have to just have to give a good product. You have to love what you do and care about what you do and talk about it to everyone and anyone who will listen. I mean, I talk about menopause, and if I'm at a cocktail party and I see someone having a hot flash across the room, I will cross the room and say, no, you don't have to do that. Like, what are you doing? My passion is so great. Like, it's not a chore for me. It's not hard for me because I love what I do so much. So as soon as you start thinking people are annoyed with your message, get loud. No one's heard you. If you go back and I think, so that's network. I think knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect. If I cared about putting makeup on, what I was wearing, exactly if I didn't mumble or say the wrong thing, if I worried about any of those things, I never ever would have made a single video. I never would have done any of the things that I've done. I joke my brand is hot mess. So look at my social media and scroll down, go to the bottom and thousands at the bottom, and you'll be like, oh, she's terrible on video. And oh, she has no career. It is a muscle that you can build over time. And again, realizing people don't care what I look like. I am not a supermodel. That's not my role, is to be perfect in every single way. My job is to make sure people don't die of urinary tract infections, and that women know that they deserve health, like hormone care, health care, sexual health care, and that, it's about the patient. It's about the patient. And again, and really understanding that marketing piece. Like, marketing is not a dirty word. Like, what do? I give people, I make people's lives, marriages better. I make them sleep. I give them libidos back. I help their orgasms. Yes, I ask for money in return, but I don't apologize for that. Of course I do. No. And I teach doctors and other clinicians how to prescribe hormones in an evidence-based, by the book way that is like that should be done. And yes, I asked for money for that because it took my team a long time to put it together. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sorry for that. I'm actually not sorry that it's a short course that gives you all the information you need in a short package. And so it's understanding that I can sell and I can bring in money so that I can hire people and do more things. All my patients are so funny. They're like, you're not going to buy a boat, Dr. Rubin. You're going to hire a research assistant, right? Like you're going to, what you're going to do with this money is put it back into fueling and helping more people. And so I think getting that mindset around, money is neither good or bad, but you need money to do things that you want to do.
I love that. I mean, so network, really don't give a shit on who's listening or how you may come across, or worried about how you come across. Like, just you do what you're really good at. And that may be, talking and doing social media, educating. It may be going up against the FDA. It may be, sharing a story. I mean, it's whatever you're passionate about, sharing that and being able to ask people, hey, come work with me. I have a solution for your problem. I think all of those things we're not taught to do as physicians. We're taught to sit in our little box, to try and think and be here. But you have shown that physicians can be much bigger than that.
And I have a third one, which just came to mind that I think is really important. What you just said is everything in business is learnable. Everything in business is learnable. My friends, I learned how to do surgery. I learned how to put in penile implants. Surely I can learn QuickBooks, right? And I'm not as good at spreadsheets as Dr. Signorelli, but guess what, my friends? She's my friend. And if I actually was like, hey, can you come jump on a spread? I need to do that, by the way. That's probably a good idea. I should do that. But the reality is you can learn how to do everything. And so if you see someone copy me, look at me, watch what I'm doing, say, what do I like about what she's doing? Why doesn't she annoy me? Or why does she annoy me? Does she annoy me because I'm jealous that she's gotten all these followers? Am I annoyed because I look so much better than she does and she's gotten followers? Show some curiosity about this. And I think we tend in medicine to run to this hierarchical sort of place of putting each other down and why this show some curiosity about why do I feel feelings about what she's saying, or why do I feel well, that's great for her, but I can't do that. You can learn how to do everything that I do. And I think that's why I've been so popular, is because people see me and they're like, oh, if she can do it, I can do it. Right. Like this isn't that hard. And it's that authenticity that gets people to show up for themselves.
It's the authenticity. It's the, you are real. You're not afraid. If a cuss word comes out of your mouth, no big deal. You don't shy away from it. You're funny. You're just entertaining to be around. I mean, even like as a friend, seeing you in person, you're just cool to be around. And so regardless
I think people like I do not have a persona. Like actually the real me is actually kind of introverted. I do need some quiet time of like, of being in sweatpants and people leaving me alone. But like, I don't have I'm not one way with patients and one way with my doctor friends and one way with my middle school friends. Like I'm just me. And I think we as doctors sometimes have this air of like, I'm a doctor and I know everything and don't question me because I'm an expert. And I think that we need a lot more humility and a lot more ability to be like, wow, we used to do bloodletting and leeches and we thought that was the best thing ever. Like, look how far we've come. What's ahead? What's next? Right. And I think thinking of what we're doing today a little bit as bloodletting and leeches is kind of important because we have no idea what's ahead.
No. And, I think that people get so afraid to start, right? To start a new service line, to start a practice. But at the end of the day, if you know that episode 1, right, if it's a podcast, isn't going to be like episode 100, isn't going to be like episode 1000, that's okay. Like just start with 1. Know it's going to kind of suck and it's going to be fine. Like episode 100 will be much better. All good.
The best thing that happened, we connected through Dr. Una and the NatrevMD podcast and the coaching group. I think for me, one of the most important things was this idea of everybody has temper tantrums. It normalized it. I watched all my friends and colleagues having temper tantrums at all the things I would have temper tantrums about. And I said, wait a minute. Oh, that's normal. Oh my gosh, I'm normal. And knowing that allowed me I'm afraid at every step of the way. I am terrified always. And so what do? Is I tell terrified me to like get into the seat next to me and I say, let's go. She's never going away. Like I am always going to be afraid. And then it becomes like, what can we do while afraid? Like, what can we just keep showing up and knowing you can't predict what's ahead. I could not in a million years, think that I would be where I am in this moment, getting to stare down the head of the FDA and tell him that doctors tried to kill my mother because of his box labeling on vaginal estrogen. Like, what a world that I got to do that. I couldn't have predicted that 4 years ago. And so you have to just like take steps and you can't predict what's ahead and not be afraid. And if you're afraid, it's okay. Like that's normal. Just keep going.
Well, and I think, if it's funny because when I met you 4 years ago, I think ish, I don't think either of us would have imagined in our own different ways, right, where we are today. In each individual location, like I would have never imagined we have a team of 70 people. And I know we could get even bigger, but I wouldn't have imagined where we're at. But I think the first thing was just truly not being afraid of starting one thing. Like, I think I, have a tendency to think, okay, how do I make the 100th decision when I haven't figured out the second decision? And so I love what you're saying that, folks start with the first decision, then get to the second. Don't worry about it. If you're fearful, great, but just stick that into the side and have it come along. I want to shift gears just a little bit because you have built a practice. It's grown over time. Obviously, you now have this bi-coastal thing going on. One of the things our practices, I think, struggle with sometimes is that period at which you hire and at which you sit and let the practice grow. So how have you managed that moment of, okay, I'm ready to hire that next person? Again, whether that's the research assistant or the second physician, mid-level, whatever, like how have you mentally, do you wait for the market to be ready and then bust, or are you busting at the seams and then hire?
There is no right answer here. And I will tell you, I am often kicking and screaming and really behind in some of these decisions. I wish I could say I have this big plan. Part of me still wishes it was just me and one assistant in a one-room schoolhouse and seeing, but the demand got so high. And so my hires have really been sort of people who I know really well, who I know the information really well. And then, one was my co-fellow, right? We trained together and she was an obvious choice. Another was a colleague who has been my close friend and colleague for 10 years. And for many circumstances, I brought her in because it was just a perfect fit. The next hire I had was someone who was retiring from the military. She's a brilliant urogynecologist and she was obsessed with sexual medicine and said, hey, the military will pay for 3 months for me to train with you. And so we got to practice this mini fellowship. So we worked together for 3 months. And of course she was like, now I want a job, but I already knew that she had the personality, the hunger, the drive, the interest. And so I absolutely need to hire more people. And yet I'm not in the mood. I will not hire just to hire. For me personally, the practice I want to build, I'm very clear on my why, and it's research, education, advocacy, and mentorship. My dream is really to advance the field of sexual medicine, to do it in a very serious, non-watered down, cookie cutter way. And so I'm still working in my brain of how do I then expand and scale. And so lots of people listening, hey, I need your help. But even having the time to get people's help and thinking about these large problems. And so I would love a fellowship. That's really my dream, is to start training people at a very high level. We have clinician courses that we're doing. That's been really fun as a way to sort of expand without it being in the practice. So it's, but I do I can see other people's problems, and I can also really help other people. I don't always help myself, but I can see other people's issues. I think you want to make sure that you have the volume, and you want to make sure that you keep people busy from day one. And you want to find people who are hungry to find the patients and get the networking themselves. I think when we have this idea in medicine of just like patients should show up and they should just see me because I'm here. But if no one knows you exist, and it's a lot to ask on the practice owner to do all your marketing. Nobody markets you better than you. And so you have to find people who are hungry to like go out and network and find patients and actually understand that medicine is a gift, where like it really is sales. Like we are all in sales. And so we are selling to other doctors. We're selling to patients. We're selling to, like, we're all in sales, and we suck at marketing. Like we just are terrible at it. So I think the hiring is really challenging because you need a good fit. You need people who are hungry, and you also want to have the volume to get them busy from day one. And one thing I learned is sort of, you need to look at people as investments. It's not, oh, this payroll cost, oh, this is going to be a big cost, but how is that role an investment? How do they actually make you money? And if the maths, then you hire them. If the math isn't mathing, then you're not ready yet.
So 2 key takeaways that I love is I think you're hiring somebody because they are hungry. You're hiring somebody because they are going to be able to come and get patient volume. And then 2, the math's got to make sense. All right. Last switch of the topics, but I really want to talk about what you are doing to teach other physicians, because so I have an amazing urgent care that we took on earlier this year. They are already loving your podcast. I don't know if they signed up for the course yet. I actually told them about the course this week, but they're already changing their behavior of how they're thinking about treating patients with chronic UTIs. And I told them, I was like, I've got you on the podcast this week. So talk to us about your certification, the course, and how docs who are in the field, who maybe don't treat patients just, in the sexual medicine part, but are dealing with kind of the hormone piece, how can they learn and implement that in their practice?
So first of all, I want everyone to hear this. If you don't understand the magic of social media and the importance of social media, you like this last sentence that she just gave, you have to have your chin on the floor. So here we have someone who is a brilliant pathologist, someone who runs laboratories for hospitals, who has a company that helps people with billing and has an urgent care that she works with. Okay. The fact that Dr. Signorelli knows the importance of hormonal health, menopause health, and the genitourinary syndrome of menopause, and how actually that her urgent care outcomes and their care would be so elevated by their doctors, clinicians, learning how to prescribe vaginal hormones, which are safe for everyone. And if you've ever treated a urinary tract infection or cared for a woman who has urinary tract infections, you should be easily able to write a very quick prescription, which now we have advocated for guidelines to give you that knowledge. What a world. She knows that from social media. She knows that from watching us. She knows that. And now she's able to advocate and communicate about that. So my job is done, right? This is why it's so beautiful. Like, people know like how beautiful that what you just said is just the fact that you even said it is the most beautiful thing in the world. So my job is I can't see everybody. I have no time. And so how do we actually help people and move things forward. We published that if women in Medicare aged use vaginal estrogen, we would save Medicare $22 billion a year. Okay. I'm talking about a prescription, estradiol, 10 micrograms, one insert twice a week in the vagina forever. That prescription that you can all write would save $22 billion for Medicare and lots of lives. And so we are screaming about this. We've gone to the FDA. We've created guidelines. I have a free prescriber's guide of how to write the prescriptions on my website.
I've seen that. I've downloaded it. I will link it.
I have a free course on my website of how to prescribe vaginal hormone therapy. So it's free. Everything's free here. You know, the GSM guidelines are totally open access from the American Urologic Association. That's our gift to you. I did a 2-hour deep dive podcast with Peter Attia, which we can link to. That was very well received. That goes into all of hormone therapy. So not just vaginal hormone therapy, but why we use estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and why it works. That's a free gift to you that goes over the whole playbook, the whole toolbox. And so because it was actually one of our friends, Megan Mello, she's a family practice doctor, and she said, Rubin, I need a course. I need to know how to write the prescriptions. And she texted me like every week for months saying, where's the course? Where's the course? And so I finally put together a very short, high yield CME course that goes at your own pace, that will break it down in short chunks that you can watch on your drive of here's why menopause matters. Here why you as the rheumatologist, neurologist, urgent care doc, ER doc, dermatologist, here's why you need to know about this and how to counsel patients safely and appropriately and how to write the FDA approved prescriptions. It has gone like wildfire. It is so successful. So many people. And again, these are people who've taken other CMEs or other things. What we're trying to do is just actually change the way people practice medicine. I want you writing prescriptions. If I can do this as a urologist, your urgent care clinicians are way smarter than me. They can do this too. And giving them the tools and the confidence. I don't know why my voice carries and why I'm able to simplify things in a way that people actually will change, like kind of how they practice, but I'm using this gift or this muscle that I have built to try to say, hey, we need more of you to write prescriptions. So if you take care of women, you should be writing these prescriptions. And it's not a GYN problem or a menopause specialist problem. Yeah, we can do the hard stuff. Send us the hard stuff.
Yeah.
But the basics, if you see a woman who is 52 with no medical problems and hot flashes, night sweats, and not sleeping and pain with sex, she should be on an estrogen patch, a progesterone pill, and vaginal hormones at the very basic level, very safely, and you will prevent osteoporosis. You're going to help her sex life. You're going to prevent UTIs. You're going to do so much good for this human. And then you're going to keep her in her job. You're going to keep her at the law firm partner or at the head of her private equity firm or whatever thing. And that's the magic of kind of what we do. And you could start that conversation in the urgent care. And that's what's so beautiful about what you just said.
Oh, I love it. And you carry this with such passion, like, you love it. I almost bought your course. I don't see patients. I haven't seen patients in over 15 years. And I was like, but I just want the course.
Well, we actually have had a lot of people. I've had a lot of pediatricians and radiologists and people take the course because they actually want to be able to advocate for themselves and their family members. Because they're all they're all perimenopausal or love someone who is perimenopausal or menopausal.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Listen, the reality is I saw a woman in my office this week. She is in her 80s. She has her name on buildings that you and I see every single day. Okay, this woman has more money than you and I could ever dream about. And she's dressed to the nines. And she comes into my office acting like a drunken sailor that's incoherent, and not because she was drinking. She wasn't. She doesn't drink. She had such a bad Proteus urinary tract infection that had gone to her brain, and she had mental status changes, and her pH of her vagina was 7.5. She was not using her vaginal hormones because she didn't understand that was going to save her life, and she was too busy with all of her activities and her plans, and I had to shake her and say, you are going to die. This urinary tract infection doesn't care how rich you are. It doesn't care that you have all these plans. Like, you must use this to save your life. And yes, you need antibiotics, but we put an E-string in her, a little ring that goes in her vagina that stays for 3 months. She'll come back to the office in 3 months. We'll take it out. We'll put another one in. So she doesn't have to worry about it or think about it or hope. And it's such an important story because this is a problem. Like, even the rich white ladies are getting awful care. They're getting awful. She had a concierge primary care doctor doctor, a concierge gynecologist, and nobody had given her what she needed to keep her alive, and not, sort of mental status changes from she's going to fall. She's going to fall. She's going to break a hip. She's going to die if she doesn't treat what we used to call vaginal dryness, right? Like this problem is so much bigger than just, oh, lady, a little vaginal dryness. No big deal. You're 85.
It's so much bigger than that. And I want to recap. You've built this amazing practice. You've been able to say, you know what, if somebody tells me no, I'm going to do it anyway. You've built this course. You're helping physicians. You're telling the FDA to,
get their shit together.
Get their shit together, which is, I will add to the show notes, the Peter Attia, the course, the FDA clips, because they were all inspiring to me. Again, I've known you, so I've been following. I'm obsessed with your stuff. I think what you're doing for the world is amazing. And if our 100,000 listeners, get anything from any of our episodes, download the course, check it out, save a patient's life. So
can I also just say, the haters come, you guys. Like, I have plenty of trolls. I have plenty of people who don't like me. I got an email last night from some lady in England who told me I should be ashamed of myself because I haven't changed the NHS's budgeting issues and caring more about hormone therapy and menopause, and how horrible I am because I don't do enough for the people of Great Britain. I actually got that email. I've gotten emails. I've gotten 1-star reviews. I've gotten people who have told me that I am the worst. I actually had people on TikTok tell me I should have I'm not on TikTok, but they said I should have my medical license taken away because I said a factual statement that labia minora resorb in menopause. They do. The labia minora disappear in menopause. And I had people say that I should have my license taken away from me because I am doing a malpractice and medical misinformation. So this is, you got to get into the lion's den. This stuff is hard. But what I could have just, died when those things happen and said, well, I can't do anything. I can't do this. But you have to be able to handle the bad and the good and be able to keep moving forward, because when you know your why, when you know there are women dying of urinary tract infections, there are people who are not being intimate because they think they can't, even though they can, and that they have the right tools, that there's so much work we have to do. And half of the population that is being ignored in medicine, it keeps you going, and it really quiets down those trolls that get very loud sometimes.
Yeah, that's so important, because I think for a lot of our listeners, they're trying to figure out marketing. They're afraid to put themselves out there. And so to know that you, of all people, who have this amazing following, you've been on, Peter Attia, for goodness sakes, a podcast, you even have all of these trolls that are now, saying these ridiculous things, makes you kind of just go, okay, I can just ignore anything that's, not true. Or even if it was true, who cares? But I know none of those things are true. So, well, awesome. Well, I'm just so glad to spend time with you. I hope we get to see each other in person in a conference or something coming up soon. But I appreciate you coming on and just sharing with everyone the knowledge.
I am so impressed by you, grateful for you, and deeply proud of what you're doing for the physician community. And it is so fun to have, be proud and excited for other people in this world. And we all, lift each other up and can really see the wonderful things that are happening out there. And so for all of the people listening, tell someone that you're impressed with them, send them a nice note. People, it is a gift. It is a free gift. And if you haven't read How to Win Friends and Influence People, that is actually a magic book to read, to just realize that the basics actually are just putting kindness into the world, being a kind person, and really getting your mission across that way. And so just thank you for having me on, and what an honor to be a part of what you are building, which is just magnificent.
Thank you so much. All right, listeners, check out the links below, and we'll talk to you next week for the NatrevMD podcast. Thanks so much.